what are you currently seeing in the partner channel in terms of adoption levels of M2M? And I mean, currently seems low to me, but it is a very it's a high growth market. And what are the major barriers for resellers getting into this market? Should we start down at this end?
Cool. Yeah, I'll take this one. So I think I was fortunate enough to do something similar at Convergence South when we spoke about how do you sell a non-traditional product in a traditional market. And I was talking about M2M, and I think maybe the terminology needs to change a little bit, and people need to be thinking differently about it. And we're not, as a channel, and my background was in Telefonica with Gareth a long time ago, 10 years there, and running the wholesale channel. It's not about trying to connect toasters and fridges and how we're going to make money out of doing that. I think it's about how we take this connectivity capability, and whether that be Europe or globally, you actually look at monetizing that with the existing products that everyone sells today. So simple things like, put your hands up if you sell Ethernet products. That's a few more. Put your hands up if you sell broadband. Okay, so we're getting into like turning it around from not thinking about little bits of connectivity to make little bits of margin, but actually turning it into a product that you guys already sell, and how do you use the capability that someone like a Pangea or one of the other guys here can do to help you make money out of that. And that's where we start. We start with the channel helping them deliver that part where you make margin, and then we go into the bigger things about, okay, cool, let's look at mass deployments in bicycles to track air quality. It's a very different side, if that makes sense. But really looking where we can make money first, I think, is how to get the adoption going much higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think it's our job really is to enable the partners at events like this to move into the marketplace and deliver you with the tools and the skill set to actually deliver that out to your existing customer base. It's not about you guys finding new customers, it's about enabling you to understand what your customers do, because you will have M2M opportunities and customers. In actual fact, it's a lot easier to sell it to your existing customer base than it is to go out there and find brand new customers, as we all know.
Keith, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see quite a take-up with partners now, but I think the challenge a lot of partners have is, we had M2M in the old money, we've got IoT in the new money, they're essentially effectively the same thing. And you do get a lot of partners that come and say, well, please, stop telling me about these 50 billion connected devices. I know, I've got the number. What I want to know is how do I get my share of that? And I think, as these guys have already said, that's really where people like ourselves on this panel can play quite a key role in trying to drive this forward. We've only got to go to the World Congress this year to see that it's actually been dominated by IoT. So I think everybody in the channel is now starting to see that, well, this is now going to happen. Because we've technically had the year of M2M down the channel last year for every 10 years, but it's never really taken off in the way that we're now starting to see that traction with partners. But the underlying thing from a partner is look, please, I need some help. I'm not the guru of IoT. I know it's going to be big. I know I can make money out of it. I just need somebody to show me how.
Okay. I want to talk about opportunities. Where are you saying, which verticals are you seeing the most opportunities in that partners can really align themselves to take advantage of this M2M opportunity? Gareth, do you want to kick us off there?
Yeah, I think as Dan pointed out earlier, I think there's probably two approaches that you can take to this. So you've either got more of a sort of consultative sale, where you're working with your end customer to overcome a business need or challenge. So it's about helping them through that process and delivering a solution at the end of it that's going to deliver a strong return on investment. I think the other route that you could also take is around having sort of products, packaged products and solutions. So if you're talking about verticals and where you can potentially target, we're seeing a huge uptake in retail around sort of electronic point of sale and also backup. So you talked earlier about sort of Ethernet and WAN. We're seeing a strong increase in the number of customers who are taking connectivity for resilience purposes around things like PCI compliance. So we see that as a real growing area at the moment.
I think, yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and specifically orientated, I would guess, to the market that are here today, is the ability to create complementary products. So I would say lease line replacement service, rapid deployment, in conjunction with providing primary connectivity, the ability to deliver backup capability in the form of a router that has a 4G failover capability associated to it. So again, it's not about going out and finding new customers, it's about, and all the guys here will have various partner programs of sorts where, we've learnt a lot over the years, and it's about us helping you deliver that, giving you the collateral, giving you the technical know-how and the support to deliver that, at least in the early days, while you and your sales teams learn the process.
Keith, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think in general terms, there's lots of pie charts out there that are going to show you that it's all about transport, energy and security. And on the 80-20 rule, that takes up 80% of the pie chart opportunity. But we're finding that partners now they're talking to customers, and it could be some simple proposal from, I don't know, a vending machine company, to some very bespoke elements of, say, motorway street lighting. But it's interesting because we get a lot of partners that do see this in a positive way, and when an opportunity is there, they might not know how to deploy that opportunity, but they certainly know, with the likes of us guys on the stage here, we can actually have a conversation about how do I take this thing to the next level, how do I actually deploy it. And what you do tend to find as well, when you're talking to the end user customer, invariably you are the guru. Just the fact that you know what IoT is and the fact that you can put a few sentences together, you don't tend to be in there with 25 other partners all fighting for X number of SIMs to a customer.
It's a really good point, actually, is what you're not delivering in the world of M2M and IoT. In a lot of cases, it's not a commodity item. It's not like a traditional voice SIM where it's really difficult to add value. If you're working with one of the partners here, really, it's the ability to deliver, private APNs, static IP addressing, IPsec interconnects. Suddenly, all of your traditional competitors that you work with in your normal voice space will not be available, because it's a fairly unique proposition that we're enabling you to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, guys have covered it really well. I think one of the things from my experience working in the channel is that actually your customers are very broad. There isn't probably one specific vertical that you all work into. It could be from kind of medical side or health, right through to energy, right through to IT resellers. There's quite a broad perspective, and I think what you need to do and what we do to help is to say, well, okay, let's help you identify making more money from existing clients with this service. I think that's where we go to, and there's lots of different verticals, but it's again about choosing the way that we help to approach. And Keith mentioned as well, it's like, there's not many players out there doing this in the right way, and I think that's the key part. People are maybe trying to see, well, how do we make money out of this toasters and fridges model, which is not the right way. It's like what we do for the UK channel to make them money as well.
There's also a bit of a misnomer out in the market that to make money from M2M, you've got to deploy in vast volumes, which isn't necessarily true. I mean, Keith, what's your view on that?
I think that the challenge you've got is we all live, most people have been in telecoms quite a long time and think about M2M. We often get the feedback from the channel, well, you can't make any money, why would I bother? But what you've got to take into account is that your typical IoT deal isn't just maybe 5 or 10 SIMs. Sometimes it can be several thousand SIMs. It doesn't tend to be where you have to give a phone for free. It tends to be that you'll actually sell the hardware and make significant profit just on the hardware. It's also the case that they don't tend to sign up for 1 and 2 year contracts. They'll sign up for 3 year, 5 year. There's even some with 25 year battery life that are underneath the road on a 20 year contract. Think about things like that. You've got zero customer service. It's very rare that the SIM calls you to say, I'm having an off day, and can I get a bit of a cuddle from you? It's just not required. So if you take everything into account and you're willing to take a medium to long term view, then you can quickly see you can make some real good money in IoT.
Again, I reiterate that point, is that a lot of the customers or partners that we work with are delivering connectivity as a component of the product that they deliver out to their marketplace. So this isn't a one-off fit and forget type sale. This is creating a relationship with a systems integrator, your customer, that might be then shipping dozens, hundreds, in an ideal world, thousands of these units every year. And again, once you've set that infrastructure up, you suddenly become much more sticky to your customer, and you've got a long-term recurring relationship.
Gareth, do you agree with that?
No, absolutely. I think the money to be made out of machine-to-machine and IoT isn't within the connectivity element. I think it's about delivering the overall end-to-end solution. And it's when you bring in things like professional services, you can have managed service wrap around it, sort of ongoing maintenance charges, and also the sale of the hardware as well, where you can make margin on that. So I think if you're trying to monetize a solution, it's absolutely about looking at it from an end-to-end perspective rather than just going in for a SIM sale, because if you do, invariably you'll lose, because there's always somebody who'll come along who'll try and be cheaper than you. You're just getting back to the old ways of sort of commoditisation of a network.
Yeah. I was just going to put a small little challenge to that in a way. It's like exactly to what Gareth's trying to say is one of the things that we realised very early in our business, and I can see a couple of my partners here with what I showed them, which was about, yep, we can do connectivity anywhere in the world, right? 400 networks, no problem. But what it actually needs to be is to say, well, how do we take it from that part of it, where the slice of the pie and the margin is X, and moving it up to here where it's Y, where you're actually controlling the solution end to end. So myself and Chris and a lot of the team have built these sort of, growth Pangea solutions, if you want, which you can white label as a partner and start to own that part of the journey with your customer. You have the relationship, you have the customer. We help you own that and continue that through having this ecosystem. I think that's where, kind of tying into what you're saying, but just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So just a moment ago, Keith mentioned, as a partner in front of your customer, you are effectively the IoT or the M2M guru. How should partners really go about acquiring those skills? Where do you start, and how do you integrate those solutions into your existing portfolio?
It's a good question. I mean, if I can, I'd like to answer that just by giving you a couple of live examples and maybe try and put this into context. So we had a niche partner, and I use the word niche in a positive way. They're basically a two-person company. And they had an opportunity to be able to look at SIM management for motorway streetlights. Now that was really interesting because there was three parties in the equation. There was two network operators and ourselves with this partner. And we worked very, very closely with Telefonica. So the other two networks weren't Telefonica. And the point to make was that we partnered with that company. We went to the meetings with them. We were technically giving them the information that they needed. And where it really worked, because you'd have expected that to have gone to a network operator, why would it have gone to a niche partner, was that the government regulations said that the streetlights had to always be controlled, even if the network was down. So we had to have an all-net SIM that could roam across networks if it lost coverage, which one of the network operators in the equation didn't have one of those. So they had to drop out. The other part of it was they wanted to be able to control it all via a computer, and to be able to type in that into that computer to control the light to send to the SIM. And with our partnership with Telefonica, we have what we call a control centre. It's Jasper Wireless. And Jasper Wireless even came to the meetings and said, well, okay, we can write you a small program that means that you can now do that off your computer. Long story short, the partner got the deal that we control the streetlights on 3 UK's biggest motorways. You just wouldn't have expected that to have happened with a two-person company, but it did, and it was because it included Telefonica, ourselves, the partner, and Jasper Wireless. And between us, it we received to be the right solution.
John Paul, do you have anything to?
I think, it's a really good point that what really works with partners that we operate with is those that open their arms and embrace us. And I think if I get to be a little bit critical of some partners in some situations, they come at it from a commodity point of view. We'll ring you up and, I've got an opportunity, it's a 10,000 connections, how much is that? And at which point you're saying, right, okay, well, this is a consultative sale. It's a network infrastructure that you are delivering to the customer. As soon as you open up your arms and we work together to deliver to the customer a portfolio of solutions, creating a proposal document, you are far more likely to win the business than if you just take that traditional commodity approach.
Gareth, is it all about partnering?
Absolutely. I think the guys are testament to that here, really, aren't you, today? So I think Telefonica, if we just talk about what we do in the partnering space, we've grown the channel massively over the past 2 years. And I think from when I joined the team, I've been with Telefonica for a number of years, but we've really seen machine-to-machine take off. And I think over the past sort of 12 to 6 months, the growth is now sort of, it's building some sort of momentum. I think probably some of the challenges that we see is from your perspective. If you don't get on board and sort of look at ways of building solutions to address your customers' needs from a machine-to-machine perspective, your competitors potentially are doing. So, do you risk being sort of left behind, or do you sort of embrace it and come along on the journey?
I'm sure you can ask a question about what sort of partner you're going to look for coming up next, I'm sure. So I don't get away. But yeah, I mean, we spend pretty much most of our time collaborating with our partners. That's a big push for us. And I can talk examples. Keith mentioned streetlights. We've signed up a new partner for street lighting as well, they turned over something like 6.5 billion last year. But what they needed was someone to just help them stick the glue together between how this all works and how you can sort of monetize the opportunity to connect streetlights. But that's just one example. We have other partners. Saw one this morning where we're talking about how we create extra revenue out of their Ethernet deployments, how we make more money out of their wide area networks. And if I asked you to put your hands up, who does wide area networks? I'm sure you'll put your hands up. Some people do that as well. And I think it's about not only considering the model where it's, how many connections do I need? Sometimes you might be able to sell the connection for a lot of money, but again, that ecosystem that allows you to go and win business is where you've got to consider placing yourself and your bets for your customer. That's what I do.
So why should resellers be looking at this channel now? It's a growing market, it's going places. If they get in now, if they don't get in now, they're going to miss the boat.
I'll give you one example. I got a partner today. We're waiting on an RFP to be signed off today. It's worth 860,000 euros over the next 3 years. And that was not something that I thought was very difficult to achieve, but they needed the technology, as JP mentioned earlier, about having your own APN in there, having the capability to connect anywhere in the UK. And we've got a few of these kind of going through with partners right now. So it's not like it's about toasters and fridges, it's about taking the technology, collaborating with the right partner that, you obviously need to have trust, credibility in people that you want to work with, and then delivering that solution. We've all got the customers already. I think it's about taking it to the level and asking the right questions within your existing base. That's what I think.
Okay. So we've all seen the big outlandish numbers the various analysts come out with on the size of the IT market and the opportunity. How important are the channel going to be in delivering or getting close to that number, hopefully? John Paul, do you want to kick us off?
Fundamental, I think, really. You are the guy, these are the guys with the customers, so to achieve those numbers, and I don't really pay that much attention to the numbers because there's so many bandied around, and you've got to remember here that M2M and IoT isn't solely cellular. There is now new technologies coming onto the market, narrowband radio. We signed up yesterday with Sigfox that deliver narrowband radio, which is going to be a much lower total cost of ownership for the delivery of IoT. So I think traditionally cellular, it's always going to have a place in the market, especially in the higher bandwidth type applications, as the networks become more resilient and reliable, and costs become more acceptable. Talking earlier, going back to sort of typical markets that might be traditionally available to you guys, is CCTV is a great market to start at, which, relatively speaking, it's fairly low volumes, but margin and revenues are nice and high.
Keith?
I think you've only got to look at history, really. If you take the UK as a prime example, the last 31 years since, say, for example, mobile began, there's always been a partner channel. And if you sit down with any network operator today and you ask them to show you their pie chart of how much of their business comes through the partner channel, they don't keep that channel because they think they've got to. They don't keep that channel because the partner forces them to. It's automatically become an absolute significant part of their business, and always will be. And that
touch on what Keith said there as well, and I think we recognise that as an organisation. We've grown the partner channel over the past sort of 5 or 6 years massively, to a point whereby we've now got 2 specific teams supporting IoT. So we've got a team that support the wholesale aggregators from a connectivity perspective, and there's also my team that support the solutions providers as well. So we absolutely recognise the importance of the channel, and that they're going to help us achieve the growth that the analysts are talking about, even though we do take it with a bit of a pinch of salt sometimes. But we're absolutely seeing the critical mass coming through now, as we mentioned earlier.
Anything to finish off with?
No, I'm sure we can ask some questions for the.
Yeah, I mean, so I asked a question at the beginning. Who's currently selling M2M in some form or another? I'd like to ask another question actually. Who thinks they will be selling M2M in some form or another in the next 3 years? Can I see a show of hands for that? So that's good. Has anyone got a question for our IoT gurus on stage here? No questions at all? Come on, who's going to be brave? No? Okay.
David, if I could just add one thing about the other extreme of an example. We've got one particular partner who really is the IoT guru. Been doing it for 12, 14 years, does huge volume, and does some very, very clever, specific things with IoT. And when I was in the office with him the other week, he was talking about what they were doing. He was asking me to put together a bespoke package for some sims. And I said, well, what this then? He said, for parking meters. And I said, all right, so how long have you been doing parking meters? He said, we haven't. He said, never done parking meters in my life, but how difficult can it be? And he had his assistant on Google working out what they needed to do parking meters. And his view was, well, the local council, I'm allowed to do the tender. If I want to tender for it, I can tender for it. So that just goes to show there's someone there that absolutely is the guru of it, and just show a new area. I thought, how difficult can it be? I'll Google it, I'll find out what I need, and I'll talk to people like ourselves for the connectivity piece.
That's the trick, knowing your customers,
Yeah.
going for those extra opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, is to just try and help the channel realize, like, actually within your existing business where the opportunities are. You might have a relationship with someone, but have you extended that conversation to go a bit further and really ask the right questions? But there's a big part about working with a channel, and that's around ownership as well. About it's your customers, you need to look after them, and we need to just help you look after them. And I think all the businesses are probably similar in that way, but it's about helping you collaborate to win that business so that you can earn it and then make the revenue out of the parking meter, or make the revenue out of whatever that opportunities you want to do. I think that's also the other big key element to this.
Okay. Right. Has that sparked a question for anyone? Yeah, we do. One from Danny from Avnet. Can we get the microphone?
It's coming around.
Hello, gentlemen. Could you give us some sort of example of the deployment period from signing a contract on IoT to going live? Is it short, long, medium? Just give us some sort of indication, please.
Let's cover this. Yeah. So I think in terms of, it depends on the complexity of the solution and some of the processes that you need to follow. So as I mentioned earlier, you can go to market pretty quickly with a packaged product or solution. But if you're going through a consultative process with a client and you're physically having to build the solution as you go, then your sales lead time is going to get extended significantly. For some of the larger scale opportunities that we see our partners working on, generally working between 6 and 9 months from initially identifying the opportunity to delivering something. But again, it's probably unfair of me to quote a time scale, because it's so different based upon the different types of solutions that you're offering.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I think it's about that's maybe the sales cycle, which can take longer, but we're finding it's getting closer and closer because the market is coming more this way. So there's creating this bit of a pull. If the guys put their hands up, we'll probably start to see that more and more. But if you're deploying something that requires your own private APN, you're probably looking 6 to 8 weeks maybe to get that done, which is not bad at all in terms of comparing that to a BT lease line or a kind of interconnect. So that's not bad at all. If you need to deploy connectivity, SIMs in this case, somewhere, it can be done within a matter of days. So there's different levels in terms of the physical deployment versus the sales cycle.
Alright. Any other questions?
Actually, if I just add a point on that, and I'm sure again all the guys here will do a similar thing. Fast and dirty, you can turn things around pretty much in 3 days. We deliver private APN solutions in about 10, depending upon the network. One of the things that you will probably find for the longer term customers that you want to be holding on to and you want to be nice and sticky with, customer up with that trial solution. The great thing, the way Wires Logic deliver that, is we'll set up that interconnect and we'll set that customer up on a trial basis. At the end of that period, in actual fact, the infrastructure's there. You've done all the hard work, Mr. Customer. So in actual fact, now we've got that VPN, that interconnect, that private APN, let's just start dropping SIMs onto it. So once you've done that trial, there's nothing to worry about, Mr. Customer. We're not going to tie you into 24-month contracts and various types of commitments. Take it away, trial it for 3 months, and if it works, brilliant, happy days.
Right, we've run out of time there. I'd like you to put your hands together to thank our audience.